Okay, there's something that I need to get off my chest really, really quick. Okay, first of all, recently I heard about this boxer named Yusaf Mack or Yusuf Mack or however you pronounce his name. I don't even know how you pronounce his name, but apparently he's a famous boxer, or he was working his way up there. And personally, I've never really heard of him before. I never really heard of him until I actually did a little bit of research on him. But one day I was on the internet and I was doing some research because I had came across this article talking about this boxer named Yusaf Mack that was in a threesome porn video, and he was basically in a video with two other men. But the thing is I was sitting there wondering, okay, well, what's so special about this guy? So I googled him and I found out that he was a boxer. So I was like, oh, okay, so he's actually, a celebrity kind of in a way. So then the first thought that came to my mind was, okay, I wonder exactly how society is going to react to this. Like, that's always the first thought that comes to my mind. According to him, he says that he was drugged. So, I actually found the video and I watched it, and even though it was very intriguing and interesting to watch, um, but my attention was more so focused on, how this was going to affect his family. Because, and the reason I say that is because he recently had an interview and actually came clean and said that he wasn't drugged, which I already knew from the very beginning that he was lying from the jump, because I looked at the video and he was basically saying that, you know uh, that he all he remembered was that he had went inside of this New York apartment or something like that, and then he woke up, on the train, and it just didn't make sense. So I knew from the very beginning that he was lying. So because it just all didn't make sense to me, and now that he's finally came clean about it, it's like now I'm just wondering like how this is really going to come into play. Now, there's a couple things that I do want to point out. And that is, for one, in a way, this kind of negatively falls back on the gay community. And the reason I say that is because, in a way, it kind of does fall back on the gay community in a negative way, because now that's going to give society even more of a reason to look down on gay men as all the same, and doing all this secret stuff, and not being true to themselves. And that's going to give society more of a reason not to take gays seriously. It slightly kind of gives off that type of impression to society. But on the other hand, a part of me is kind of glad that he finally came clean about it. But here's a couple things that I'm a little confused about. For one, how did he not think that this video was not going to get out? First of all, this is a porn video. So how did you not think this was going to get out? And on top of that, this was a gay porn video. On top of that, if anything, by it being a gay porn video, it's going to get out even quicker. So how did he not think that it was going to get out, especially if it was done through a production company? Of course, it's going to be shopped around. So that's one thing that I just wasn't understanding. But I just wish that he had been more honest with his family about his sexuality, or at least his fiance. You know, and not only that, this man has 10 kids and he's engaged. Like, oh my God, all them kids. That is too much. That is just too much. Like, he really needs to just stop having sex. Like, he needs to put something on that and stop having all these kids. And, oh my goodness. And then he turns around and does this. You know, it's it's just way too much. But listen, I am not a judgmental person. So I'm not going to sit here and bash him for what he did, because who am I to judge? So I would never bash someone because there are times to where people are in a tight situation. So they tend to do certain things, you know, to get some money in their hand, you know. So he's only human, you know, so I can't really, you know, fault him for doing what he had to do because at one time, you know, I mean, over 90% of gay men that come out of the closet, how did they come out? They were being secretive and they were holding themselves in, and they were basically, you know, afraid to tell people. This is basically almost every single story because everyone has a story. Everyone has their own coming out story. There's some people that come out with no problem. There's some people that have to come out only telling certain people. There's some people that have to come out only by doing, you know, subliminal things or, you know, giving certain signals. And there's some people that just stay locked in the closet. And this is pretty much due to society. So all the blame really can't go on this guy. It kind of has to also go to blame to society because due to society treating people this way, you know, and discriminating and being so hateful and harsh towards people. This is why some people are afraid to come out of the closet, and this is why people end up coming out of the closet the wrong way. So it just ends up turning into an ugly situation. So a part of this blame does fall onto society. But what I really wish that he had have did, I really wish he had been honest with his family. That's what I really wish he had did because at the end of the day, he's going to end up looking like, you know, the bad guy. That's one thing I really wish he had did because why drag your family through that? So I can definitely understand, you know, if his family is hurt behind this, you know, especially if you're hiding a secret like that, I can understand why they're hurt. So that's where he was wrong at, and that's where he should have really been upfront. I mean, he didn't have to shout it from the mountaintops, you know, talking about, you know, his sexuality. He could have just been really cool about it and just at least been honest with his family so at least they would have known. Forget everybody else. You know, he would have did that on his own time. You know, that would have been up to him if he wanted to come out to anybody else. Because technically it's nobody else's business but his and the people that is involved in his life. That's the only people it matters to. And another thing I want to point out, his daughter told him that he should kill himself. I really don't agree with that. Because him killing himself, what is that really going to do? That's really not going to do anything. And for you to be a daughter and for you to talk to your dad like that, I don't care what he did. At the end of the day, that's still your father. So what gives you the right to be disrespectful and to disrespect your father like that? So she's in the wrong for that. And she has no right talking to her dad that way. I can understand the hurt and the pain behind it, but he's still your dad at the end of the day. At least what you could have did was been a little bit more supportive and at least try to understand more of his situation more instead of just being so flat out disrespectful. You know, I can understand the hurt and the pain because yes, these type of men are the ones that's dangerous. They stay married to these women. They lead these women on, have all these kids by them, but yet they're leading these secret lives, you know, and they end up damaging themselves. They end up damaging other people. And this is how, you know, and this is the main reason how HIV and AIDS and STDs, you know, end up start to come up more and more and more, even though anybody can catch HIV. It's not just through that behavior, but this is the main reason. So when I very first found this out, yeah, I was mainly, you know, annoyed by how he went about the situation because he could have been more upfront with himself about it. And that's what I didn't like about him. You know, like, why even get married and have children if you already know deep down inside of what you really are? It's not going to help that family anymore. But at the same time, that doesn't give the daughter the right to disrespect her father either, because he's still her father. Doesn't give her the right to act like that either. You know, and it's funny because when the video came out, they said that his friends was acting, well, I think he said his friends was acting funny towards him. Well, his friends, those, first of all, those were never his real friends to begin with. Because if they're acting funny towards you and not talking to you and acting all nonchalant and not wanting to speak to you all because of this, then they were never your real friends to begin with. Because if they were your real friends, your sexuality wouldn't matter to them. And someone's sexuality should never break up a friendship. At the end of the day, he's a grown man. And he's not going to live his life for anybody else. So, by him being a grown man, he's going to live his life the way he wants to, whether people like it or not. But like I said, he's partly to blame, and society is also partly to blame. It's blame on both sides. That's just how I feel about it. You know? So for those people that act funny towards him, okay, that shouldn't even bother him. He should just kick him to the curb and not even deal with them anymore. Because they were never his real friends to begin with. You know, I mean, someone's sexual orientation should not determine a friendship with someone. I mean, dang, it's not like he's going to invade your household. You know, it's not like he's going to burglarize your house. It's not like he's going to jump on top of you while you're sleeping trying to do something to you. Well, or maybe if you do think like that, then you're probably not comfortable in your own skin. But this is just the reality of it. You know? You gotta look at both sides of things.